Hey, it is Andy with Fence Post, and as we reach the 20th anniversary of the albums released in 2003, it's hard for me not to look back on this particular year as a crucial moment in indie rock history. For me, cemented in my junior and senior year of college, I dove deeper into my obsession with music and expanded my horizons more than 2003 would define and shape the sounds and styles of indie rock that would come to dominate the scene in the following years. Whether it was through the emergence of new bands or the continued success of established acts, the music of 2003 left an indelible mark on the genre, with many albums continuing to be celebrated and cherished and loved by fans to this day. Today I am looking back 20 years and counting down my top 20 albums of 2003. As always, I am focused on albums that are physically in my collection, mostly. Let's begin with an honorable mention simply because it's not the album itself and a single. Number 20 is Radiohead. Hail to the Thief comes in as an honorable mention simply because the LP isn't actually in my collection, but the single for There is. It's the sixth studio album by one of the most groundbreaking bands of the 90s and, well, honestly, 2000s. Radiohead. Sprawling and politically charged, it blends electronic beats and angular guitars with Tom York's ever-haunting vocals to create a sound that is both urgent and anxious with disillusionment. Par for the course for Radiohead. Hail to the Thief was a critical and commercial success in 2003, earning more widespread acclaim for the band for its inclusive commentary on politics, society, and the human condition. All relatively common themes throughout Radiohead's career. Number 19, Chromatics. Chrome Rats vs. Basement Ruts is the debut album by American electronic band Chromatics. I say electronic, but back in 2003 they created sludgy, lo-fi, experimental garage rock, blending elements of post-punk, new wave, and maybe just a hint of electronic. 4 years later, the band would be completely unrecognizable. Here they sound more like the Black Lips. Even more lo-fi, though. But this early sound still is not one that should be ignored. It stands out and stands alone in its own unique way. Damien Jurado is among the more prolific indie folk artists around, and he continues to make music today in 2023. He's been around since the 90s. His 2003 LP, Where Shall You Take Me, was his 7th studio album at the time, and it was a haunting and introspective release that really helped define the folk and indie folk sound of the early 2000s. In fact, Omaha remains, a remix of it at least, among fans' most cherished Jurado tracks. The album's sparse instrumentation, stripped-down arrangements, and, well, evocative storytelling combined with Jurado's rich and soulful vocals are intimate and deeply affecting. It saw Jurado maturing and moving away from some of the heavier guitar and folk rock sounds that he had given us prior to this. Number 17, Cursive. In 2003, the Ugly Organ saw Cursive giving us their boldest, most ambitious, and honestly, most accessible release yet. And despite being among the more accessible, like I mentioned, than their earlier work, it still pushed the boundaries of both emo and post-hardcore. The album's intricate angular guitar work and visceral confessional lyrics, combined with the use of horns and keyboards, created a sound that was both aggressive and emotionally raw. Kind of par for the course of those genres, right? Keep on Your Mean Side is the debut album by The Kills. It's a raw and unapologetic release that helped kind of redefine garage rock sound in the early 2000s. It features stripped-down instrumentation, gritty vocals, gritty guitars, gritty everything, dark, brooding lyrics that create a sound both primal and hypnotic. This is good. Monday at the Hug and Pint was my introduction to Scottish duo Arab Strap, but it didn't come until just a few years ago when my friend Laura finally convinced me to check it out. It's dark, it's brooding, it's kind of a masterpiece that really pushed the boundaries of indie rock in 2003. And like pretty much everything from frontman Aidan Moffat, the lyrics are a gritty confessional coupled with Moffat's unmistakable and a little off-kilter and honestly sometimes out of tune Scottish drawl. The result is a bleak album that's captivated listeners with its raw and unflinching and explicit portrayal of love, sex, addiction. I mean, basically this is Vices put to music. Ha Ha Sound is the third studio album by British psychedelic pop band Broadcast. It's a mesmerizing and otherworldly release, honestly like everything from Broadcast, that blends elements of retro futurism, dream pop, and experimental electronica into a sound that's both haunting and beautiful. The album's use of vintage analog synthesizers, lush harmonies, and Trish Keenan's ethereal vocals creates a surreal and, well, otherworldly atmosphere that was instantly captivating, and honestly continues to be so today. Broadcast was one of the more innovative and influential bands of the experimental electronic and dream pop scenes of the early 2000s. Number 13 is Explosions in the Sky. The Earth is Not a Cold Dead Place is the third album by instrumental post-rock band Explosions in the Sky. The LP is a breathtaking release that helped redefine post-rock in 2003, even beyond what the band gave us with their 2001 LP. With soaring cinematic soundscapes built on intricate guitar interplay and powerful drumming, The Earth is Not a Cold Dead Place created a sound that was epic, intimate, enigmatic, really fucking good. Electric Version is the second album by Canadian supergroup The New Pornographers. The album was irresistible with a blend of power pop, indie rock, and perhaps even a little baroque pop, along with the collective's trademark harmonies and intricate arrangements. It made a truly captivating listen. I remember becoming obsessed with From Blown Speakers and Testament to a Youth in Verse and Ballad of a Comeback Kid. And last year, I finally got a copy on vinyl. They are back in 2023 with Continue as a Guest, which I think is their best since their album Challengers, but this is up there solidly as well. Space rock, neo-psychedelic, and even shoegaze make an appearance on Amazing Grace. This is the sixth studio album by Spiritualized. Raw, powerful, the release marked somewhat of a departure from the lush and more orchestral soundscapes of some of their previous albums. Blending bluesy guitars, gospel choirs, and Jason Pierce's, or Jay Spaceman's, soulful vocals created a sound that was both cathartic and transcendent. Honestly, the latter is and was at the time nothing new to Spiritualized. Yet it had this sense of urgency and intensity that pervaded the album throughout. There it is, my countdown from 20 to 11 in part 1 of my top 20 albums of 2003, a 20-year retrospective look back on indie rock from a year that changed indie rock. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Up next, I will be counting down my top 10 albums from 2003. That video will be coming very soon, and I'll see you next time because I am nowhere near done unboxing my entire record collection.